Hello, our guest today is Brian Murray, who is the Democratic candidate for the 10th Worcester District State Rep seat, which represents Milford, Hopedale, Mendon, and part of Medway.
Welcome.
Long introduction, but welcome.
Nice to see you guys.
Did you take a breath?
I have to because it's 4 towns.
That's
we
right.
usually talk to you just about one.
Right, that's correct.
That's right, yeah.
So you're picking up more responsibility.
I suppose that's one way to look at it.
You're going to spend a lot more time down in Boston.
Absolutely, yes, I would plan on doing that.
Well,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So, why are you running for office?
Well, you know, when John Fernandez indicated he was retiring back in April, it's something that I had been thinking about, you know, for quite some time. I'm into my 16th year on the Board of Selectmen in Milford. Personally, I really view it as a challenge, an opportunity to grow, and I think for the district, I think my experience both on the school committee and the selectmen and other things that I've done, I think places me in a pretty good position to, I think, represent the district well at the state level. So I think it might be a nice fit for both the district and myself personally.
Well, the last two people that sat in that chair had school committee and selectmen experience.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I
so
think
it's a good foundation.
I think it's very important, you know, to have that background and the level of experience that I've had, not only on those formal committees, but other committees I've served on, has really given me a wide perspective. And as I've gone off and I've talked to the selectmen from Mendon, from Medway, you know, it's very easy to relate to them because I'm on the same side of the table. And a lot of the things that they're telling me, you know, I see as well. And you know, I think from our perspective, and Kevin knows that from attending all of our meetings, you know, there are issues that come up at the local level that need some clarification from the state, whether it's a particular agency or whatever. And, you know, I really see that representative position as that very valuable conduit, that link between the municipal and the vast morass of state government that can be intimidating sometimes.
Yeah, and I was surprised. I've seen you campaigning in Mendon, where I live, and I was actually surprised at how many people you know in that area. And I've heard that from people in Hopedale that you're a known quantity to them. I don't know how you're doing in the one precinct of Medway, but at least in Hopedale and Mendon, people know you from either being their lawyer or just from being a selectman in the area. Yeah,
you know, and the more I get into Mendon, the more I realize people that I know. As I'm going on a particular street, I'll run into some clients or some folks that I've done some work for, or maybe that knew my father, or you know, aware of some of the things that I've done. So that's really stretching out in Mendon. Hopedale also. Medway is the least. Medway's the toughest for me. I don't know as many people over there, but I'm working on it.
Well, now, the largest, what percentage of your constituents are in Medway?
Well, it's precinct 1, so you know, essentially Mendon, Hopedale, you know, they're one precinct
one
towns,
precinct, right.
And Medway is as well. So it's precinct 1, which, you know, kind of is that area, you know, Summer Street West, you know, back towards Milford. Yeah, so.
With Milford being the dominant population area.
Absolutely, Milford.
I'm trying to think of, I think Mendon is in the 5,000 voter range, and Hopedale's probably about the same or a little less, and probably put Medway in a little.
Hopedale.
I'm sorry, Hopedale.
Mendon only has one precinct, right?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
And then Milford, which has 8 precincts now, is
Right.
about 18,000 votes, 18,000 voters.
Sure. And that's what your precinct is between 4,000 and 5,000 voters.
And at 7,500, you have to go to a second precinct.
I'm not sure what the exact number is.
You have to go to a
If
second
it's
precinct.
7,500?
I think it's 7.
Yeah.
No, it's 5,000. I'm sorry. 5,000. When you hit 5,000, then you have to have another precinct.
5,000 voters.
Voters.
Yeah.
And Upton just had to go to a second precinct a couple
Okay,
years
is
ago.
Upton, what, 2 precincts now?
Yes, 2
Okay.
Two precincts now,
All
but
right.
And we just got running water, too, so.
Not that the 2 go hand in hand.
No,
but it's kind
no.
of nice to have both.
but you said the issues are the same. I mean, for instance, the highway departments, although Mendon and Medway have the Charles River issue, which is a different level of
Significant.
stormwater pollution, all the towns have the same new EPA stormwater rules to follow.
Right.
All the towns have the same water regulations to follow. All the towns have the same traffic problems.
Absolutely, and again, folks in Mendon, Hopedale, and the ones that I've talked to in Medway, they're concerned about getting and maintaining solid and stable local aid numbers.
Right.
Because that's what, really gives you the foundation for your budget. Your big 3, your police, fire, schools. I mean, you really need that local aid, and you need to know with as much certainty as possible and as soon as possible so that you can plan your local budget around that. I mean, I understand that. Milford, we don't really have that problem in terms of, getting that information, but I know
Mendon does.
It's much more vital in Mendon, much more vital in Hopedale, much more vital in Medway.
Right.
So, I mean, that's a key link, and that's something that I think that, I would pay very close attention to.
Yeah, I mean, they're all towns, let's face it. They're all towns where, a $10,000 or $20,000 difference has a huge impact,
Significant impact.
as opposed to Milford, which is larger, has a larger tax base, and could weather, if the state cut 20,000 from Milford, you wouldn't like it, but you could weather it a lot more than the other towns.
Well, you have the room,
Absolutely.
you have the room, you have the
Absolutely.
stabilization, you have the room. So if there's as you say, a 20 or 30 or 40 or $50,000 slide, you can,
I know from living in Mendon, that would just put the budget into
but,
chaos.
well, chaos, right, absolutely.
Sure.
And with a regional school district that Mendon has, that adds another level of complexity because they really, the town fathers don't have a direct control or input on the budget. the
Yeah,
school budget.
it's almost, well, it is, it's another entity.
Right.
And, they have their own particular issues and so forth, but I'm impressed with what I've learned about Nipmuc, even beyond, what I knew. The renewable energy project that they're doing, the solar panels that are going up on the carports. I mean, it looks like a school district really moving in the right direction.
Oh, it's got all kinds of awards in recent
Sure,
years. It's
sure.
moving in a very positive
They're
direction.
trying. Well, on a different note, I think people, over the last 10 years, people have been accustomed to John Fernandes' style, for want of a better term, of representing the district. Do you plan on doing anything different, more intense, less intense, up to the level? I mean, and the line before him was, you had to fill Marie Parente's shoes.
Right.
Marie was legendary for local service, and I think
Right.
John's measured up.
Right, he has, and John is going to be a tough act to follow, and it's important, I think, for people to note that, John is coming off of 10 years. So during that time period, he had a tremendous amount of success and worked his way up the leadership ladder to
Right.
become chair of the Judiciary Committee, which is a very powerful committee, very influential, and that translated into great help and assistance for our district. If I am successful, I'm going to be going in as a freshman. I'll be lucky if I get the custodian closet, So, I mean, I understand that, I'll be starting, low on the totem pole, but the hallmark of both of those, both Marie and John, I think was strong constituent service, really paying attention to the needs of the residents and the constituents and communicating those needs at the state level to focus on what's most important. And I don't think you have to be a leader to do that.
Well, I think, generally speaking, the representation that Milford has had specifically, along with the surrounding towns, historically has always been very good, both at the Senate level and at the representative level. It's always been very good. You had, Bert Nazi
Sure.
and Dick Moore, and I mean, so it's always been very, very, very good. So,
Yeah.
and I think that's because the people that have represented have been integral to the community, have been engaged in the community, as you have been. which makes a significant difference because you can touch and feel your constituents. I used to have this discussion with George Peterson. I said, you know, the last level of government official in the state of Massachusetts that actually has to talk to his constituents is a selectman. And at the state level, you talk to a group, but a selectman has to deal with his constituents on a daily basis.
Sure.
And I think that that's a skill set that you bring to the table that's advantageous.
I agree with you to an extent, Alan. I disagree. I think the state rep and senators, although maybe it's ceremonial functions, you know, I've must have been at, oh God, over the last 15 years, 20 Eagle Scout Court of Honors. And you always see the state rep and the state senator appear and interact with the people. We just had the Senior of the Year in Mendon. And while John Fernandez was overseas right now on a well-deserved vacation, I bet he had, I think it's the first one in 10 years. You know, Senator Fatman was there. And you always see the people come in for events like that, where they're not strangers and they do talk to people. But I do agree with you to an extent that once you get above that level, and again, it's more like events, but once you get above that level, you know, you don't have personal contact with the government officials.
And I think that's one of the things that in this area has been advantageous is that the representation has always been tactfully felt. There's been a tactile feel of you could always contact. I know for John Fernandez, he's helped me on several occasions, even though I'm not one of his constituents, on some legal work for a couple of nonprofits. He's been there, willing to jump in the fray and help. As a matter of fact, the first time through, he had never done it before. So, you know, that's one of the things that's really nice. He's local. You can just give him a call.
Sure. And I wouldn't, you know, look to change that at all. I mean, that's the way I've been for the last 28 years. I don't, you know, I'm not going anywhere. I mean, if I'm around, I'm on Main Street, I'm going to the post office, I'm going to the bank.
You're still keeping the same house on the same street?
Yeah.
Your office is still in the same
Same
place?
place.
Exactly.
It's just from time to time you're in Boston and from time to time you're in Milford.
That's right, that's right. So, and I mean, that's really how I understand what's needed, you know, what really people are concerned about and what's needed in the community. And, you know, I guess the difference is I just need to stretch that out more to Hopedale, Mendon, and Medway just to get the same level of awareness in those communities, you know, that I have in Milford right now.
Now that'll be a significant change because now you're going to be covering a lot more area and a lot more issues. And
yeah, you know, it's been really enjoyable for me to get out to Hopedale and Mendon. I mean, you know, I know the towns and, you know, we've driven through them, but it's not the same as walking on the streets and, you know, going in people's yards and see how they take care of their homes and, you know, what they view as important. So it's been really refreshing for me to, you know, get out and hit the streets in those two towns. I'm seeing those communities in a different light than I had in the past.
Any surprises, things people are concerned about you didn't expect?
Not really. You know, for the most part, you know, people, you know, seniors that I talk to, they're concerned about taxes, certainly in Mendon, you know, what can be done to help seniors.
Right.
Younger folks are very concerned about strong school system. You know, people, you know, I think feel very comfortable with their police departments, the fire departments. You know, they just, I think, want, you know, strong certainty that, you know, governmental services are going to be there. And from the state perspective, again, getting back to local aid, which is such an important part of the municipal budget, I see that as a major, major role.
fighting the battle for those dollars.
Absolutely. You know, and just earmarks. I mean, earmarks can be so important, particularly to Mendon. I mean, you've got so many projects going on that earmarks could be a big boost to it, whether it's your police station. I know they want to do something with the historical district downtown. I mean, there are a lot of moving pieces right now in Mendon. You know, Mendon is a very exciting community right now. It seemed like, you know, at some point it was going off in all sorts of directions. But it seems as though the group that's kind of, you know, focusing, that they've got a plan. It looks as though the budget's been stabilized, and it looks like it's headed in a nice direction.
Yeah, but I think, you know, Milford is also looking at earmarks too. I mean, you have this opioid, regional opioid treatment program, you know, sitting there, and I know someone else passed away this past weekend from heroin, and you're waiting for that $84,000 to be released to kick off this regional program that other towns are going to contribute in, but it's the need is there, so it's not just the little towns, I think, that.
Right.
It's
Right.
really
Right.
a significant problem.
It's a
all
huge issue.
all over the country.
Well, you
It's a
you
huge
see it
issue.
from going over
Yeah.
the police chief's, what do you call it, the licensed establishment report every.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Every quarter, where you shifted from, I think, people having a little too much to drink, to all the needles and people collapsing in
Yeah.
coffee shops and burger joints. And,
Yeah.
Scary time.
It's been insidious as how it's, infiltrated the community. I mean, to be honest with you, I've seen the effects that drug addiction, can have on a family well back, because I've been practicing for 30 years. Early on, criminal work was much more prevalent. I haven't done as much lately, but, it comes across through the families, and it just tears families apart. It's the saddest thing to see parents go through it, or even children with parents are
going-
addicted.
Well, that's the thing. The profile of a drug addict over the last 30 years has changed dramatically.
Absolutely.
Dramatically.
it used to be the dirty-looking guy hanging around in the, near a store's dumpster in the back road.
Not
And
the
now
kid.
it could be your neighbor who unfortunately, a lot of I'd say middle-aged men and women, pull something playing sports, and the next thing you know, you find out that when the OxyContin prescription wore out, or whatever they put them on, they need that bump
and
because.
then what they do
sure.
is they go to the cheapest drug, which is heroin.
Yep.
Bingo. And you can,
And
it's,
It's everywhere.
it's,
I'm less worried about decriminalizing marijuana than I am about the heroin addiction.
Oh, absolutely.
well, I
Yeah,
think,
absolutely.
I have mixed emotions about
Well, I do too, but
yeah.
in terms of the dangers, I think that.
Oh, yeah,
And
absolutely.
people look at me like I have two heads, when both my sons that live with me had their wisdom teeth out this year, and I made a scene in the dentist's office saying, you are not going to give them anything stronger than Tylenol and codeine, period.
Yeah, with Vicodin or whatever.
Yeah,
it is.
you're not doing it.
Vicodin, Percocet, Dilaudid, very, very dangerous. Very, very addictive.
And,
very, very dangerous. Personally, I'm not a pill person. I don't take anything. I don't like anything in my system. I don't take an Advil. I don't want to deal with any of that stuff. I understand that folks, have pain. They certainly have choices. But personally, it's not something that I want to get involved with at all. But, the police chief in Milford, along with Amy Leone and other support staff, I think have been handling it as responsibly as any community in the state. And, targeting the dealers, trying to stop the influx of the drugs, but at the same time,
Dealing with the users. and
getting the addicts off to treatment, giving them every chance, every opportunity to go to a detox facility, to go to aftercare. I think you've only just got to expand that and really
Amy's
get
a
more
saint.
resources.
You have to agree, Amy's a saint. It doesn't matter what time of day it is, what day of the week it is. If somebody needs help with addiction, she'll find a bed for them.
Yeah. And it's tough to find somebody who invests so much of their
She has
own
invested-
self
oh, absolutely.
into other people's problems, because it can be draining.
Oh,
It
yes.
can be draining, and she really does. She goes the extra mile, and like Kevin said, I'm just hoping that we can get those funds, get that plan formalized, and allow it to expand.
But other than that, other than the fact that heroin is prevalent everywhere, the district you seek to represent really doesn't have major urban problems.
No.
Even traffic, while it's frustrating while you're stuck in it, it's not an hour on 495 or the Pike coming home. It's
No, right.
the 10 minutes you're always at the usual intersections in Milford or Mendon or Oakville.
Right,
Oh, yeah.
right, right.
16 is jammed, from the traffic light at the top of the hill in Mendon right down to the hospital in Milford.
Yeah.
16's jammed in the morning and night. So
Yeah, I know. And there's traffic everywhere. I don't know what the answer is to that. There are just cars everywhere. No matter where you go, traffic is an issue.
Well, the buses. That's the
Well, we've got
buses,
that up and running, and
which is exciting.
Yes, and hopefully, that's going to take hold, and, and you know, alleviate some of those transportation issues. But it is gratifying, you know, I'll be stopped at a light. I just, today, before I came here, and I was stopped at the light, I think, what was it, right at Congress and West, and I saw the MWRTA bus just go right up. And
And
I
that's
said,
it's
great.
exciting. It's really exciting.
It's
I mean,
great, and it's nice that it's just slipping into the community seamlessly.
None of the horrors people
Well,
expected are there.
I know, I know.
You and I have had laughs
I know.
privately about that.
I know.
The certain people were projecting, you know, I don't know what they're projecting, that this would
end of-
radically
the end of
change
civilization
As we know it.
or
Yes.
a pipeline from Framingham to Milford of the people without the right papers.
oh my goodness!
Right.
I mean, there's always a reason. I've made this joke on several occasions. I've told people, I said, you know, there's always a group in town that's going to be against whatever you do.
Oh, sure.
I told somebody one time, I said, I bet you that if I stood in town hall steps and passed out $20 bills, there would be 300 people that have a reason why I shouldn't do it.
That's right, yeah.
Well, they say in God we trust, and that violates separation of churches.
Oh,
My
go
joke is driving through Milford, his middle school east building, which was St. Mary's High School.
Yep.
In Latin says "for God, for country" on it.
Yep.
And I always say, how does that building sit there all these years saying "for God" and nobody sued?
Yeah.
Milford, you know, I mean, we think about it, you know, we've had the manger in Draper Park for years. We've had the menorah for years. You know, Milford in many ways is a very tolerant, accepting community. Certainly a religious and, you know, and I think that's one of the reasons why you've got all kinds of different groups there.
Well, it was founded basically on that kind of concept. We had a lot of different places that, you know, people come from. So
Well, it is an immigrant community, for better or worse, and it just so happens the immigrants now are coming from a different part of the world than they did before. You know, our parents or grandparents
Right, exactly.
came into the area, and some people have trouble adjusting to that.
Yep, sure, no question.
but as time goes on, that'll all work out. I mean, all things come to pass with time.
There's, you know, again, there's a strong assimilation into the community. I mean, if you go on Main Street, you've got the Brazilian bakery
Right.
at the corner of Fayette Street, which is an excellent business. I was talking to one of the help agents, and he was telling me, he said, you know something, if every business was as clean as that, I'd
Never
probably
a
be out
problem
of a
there.
job.
Yeah.
He said, every time I go
Never a
there,
problem.
it's immaculate. They've got all of their, you know,
Everything's set
things
just
that
right.
they need
Yep.
to have in
And
place.
their cheese rolls are fantastic.
Yeah, you know, I mean, that's a strong business. You know, you go to the other side of the street, you've got some ethnic convenience stores. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how the plane started with the Italians.
Absolutely.
You know, when you had Oliva's, you had Mazzarelli's, you had all of these different, you know, stores. And now you've got that on Main Street. So, I mean,
It'll evolve
it's
over
a
time.
different ethnicity, but, you know, the stores are clean, the people come, they buy, you know, whatever they need to have. It's keeping Main Street going.
Well, you know, there was a time where things were leaving Main Street.
Yes.
And now things are coming back. So, you know, I think it's just a cycle, you know. Now, what you do see is the outlying strip malls are beginning to lose businesses. And I think it's because things are moving back to the city, back to the inner city, so to speak,
And the internet.
and the internet.
And the internet.
Yeah,
You're going to
the
have
big-
problems with the box stores because instead of going to Sports Authority and buying your son some cleats when baseball season rolls around,
You go on the
your
internet.
son goes online, oh, these are the kind I want, and that's what it was. And you know, I was just on the tip of that. Now I think, you know, it's even more prevalent, and I don't know, you know, if these box stores are a viable entity going forward in the numbers that exist.
I think the interesting side of that is you've had a couple of them close
Yes.
in Milford, but then you have Amazon bringing in the "we'll ship to you tomorrow" warehouse with a couple of hundred jobs going up on Bear Hill in a building that's been vacant for, what, 10 years?
Yeah,
The old Homes Products building.
right.
So you're getting it the other way.
Well, it's just the
a change in
profile,
economy.
the profile of the business has changed. It's, everybody wants instantaneous gratification. They want
Yeah.
it tomorrow. They want it
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
We've got a couple of minutes left. I'd like to give you the opportunity in that to just say, what are the things you'd like to accomplish if you're elected?
Well, you know, I mean, really, the first thing that I need to do is just learn. I really need to learn as much as I can. I've started that. I need to learn as much as I can about Mendon, about Medway, about Hopedale. I think, I've got a pretty good handle on Milford, but there's always something I need to learn. Hopefully, if I am successful, that brings it to a whole other level of education. I really need to learn, what goes on at the State House in that type of position. I obviously have a lot of experience with different state agencies, not only as a selectman, but as my role as an attorney. So I don't expect that to be particularly shocking, but I still realize there's a lot that I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's really got to be number one. Beyond that, as we've talked about, I've got the footsteps of Marie Parenti, of John Fernandes. Folks around here are accustomed to good, solid service from their representative, and that's what I would fully intend to bring. In terms of specific issues, I really think that the new frontier is renewable energy. We saw it last night at our selectmen's meeting. Countryside just, popped up a whole, or is going forward on a whole set of solar arrays. So, district-wide, anything that can be done to support that, I think is going to be really where the next steps are. But beyond that, it's really the bread and butter of the job, fighting to keep solid, stable local aid for this particular district.
And also things like keep the registry branch local.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Because there was a plan a couple of years ago to close down the Milford branch and have people go to Framingham, and I'm sitting there going,
no.
how?
I think there was a attempt while Marie was rep,
Yes.
and also they took another shot while John was rep.
There was
too.
a plan to get rid of the Milford registry
And
because it
both
wasn't
fought back
needed.
very strong. I mean, to me, that's the one entity that really services people. It's an entity that brings money into the Commonwealth. I mean, everybody's got to go to the registry for something. We ought to be building more, not less.
To make it easier for people to,
Absolutely. I mean, we get calls from residents. I mean, the line starts at like 8 in the morning out onto Beach Street.
Yeah.
The cars are all along Beach
Well-
Street. It shouldn't be like that.
Well, I think it's funny. I have a son living down south, and he tells me in North Carolina there's one registry office for every so many 100,000 people.
Yep.
So if you think it's bad here, the states that you don't think have a lot of regulations, he had to take a day off from work when he moved down there just to get his registration changed.
Sure. Yeah.
Because, again, one for every like 300,000 or 400,000 people.
Yeah.
That's not very many.
No. And I mean, a lot of the transactions can be done online. I know I've done that, transfer plates, cancel plates, and that type of
your
thing.
driver's license
The
or whatever.
renewal, all
Yeah,
that, but
yeah,
some
yeah.
things you have to go in
Some
for.
things you've got to go there, and there are a lot of people who aren't able to do it online. They've got to go there. So, a resource like that in the town of Milford, in this area, I think is vital.
Okay.
I think there ought to be more of them rather than less.
Okay. Well, we got about half a minute left. Anything you'd like to say to the voters?
If I haven't had a chance to get out and meet people, please try to contact me. My telephone number is readily available, 473-1740. It's been the law office number for years. I'll be glad to talk to anybody.
All right. Thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you.